Welcome to 23 Degrees Sideways. I'm still here doing an upload. I have a previous video that I recorded. Don't know which order I'm going to post them in. That talks about this a little bit in my internet troubles. Let's talk about Whitmer. Dictator Whitmer. And Steve Sisolak. So, a bunch of anarchist people, whether they're extreme libertarians or extreme Marxists, I can't completely tell what's going on because the media doesn't like to report accurately, and the narrative that this is a batch of white supremacist Republicans is falling apart. But no one wants to tell you what the real affiliations are. A group of people, or more than one group of people, conspired to do some things. One of those things that one of the groups was involved in was an idea of kidnapping Whitmer, governor, right? Because she has massively abused authority, refuses to relinquish it. And, the people involved don't see another avenue. And I'm not going to say I agree with them. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not offering an opinion on this. But, we have people rioting in the streets, demonstrating because they say that there is no way to fix the system with current police measures, with current social structures, with current political structures. We have to change it all by force. So they're rioting, they're protesting, they're out there blocking freeways, burning buildings, all right? And a lot of people are very sympathetic to this. They don't feel that they can vote for the issues they want, okay? So Whitmer goes and says that you're not allowed to have a garden, okay? Her level of idiocy, and this is rank idiocy, is such that people don't remember, people are encouraged to not remember what the government agencies, the government actors, the Steve Sisolaks, the Gretchen Whitmers have done through the course of this coronavirus pandemic. You're not supposed to remember that people were advocating sending others to jail for walking on a sidewalk. Not within 6 feet of people, not within 100 feet of people, just for being outside, walking on the sidewalk. Our governor, Steve Sisolak, closed every park that he could. A lot of the counties have disobeyed him in every way they can, and advocated that you enjoy the fresh air of the outdoors by sitting in front of a window. And at one point, he advocated doing that with the window closed. That was how you're supposed to get your outdoor time. And, this is just April. This isn't like 10 years ago, all right? Whitmer is out there. You're not allowed to walk in a park. You're not allowed to go canoeing. You're not allowed to go outside with your family. You're not allowed to play baseball with your kids in a park or in your backyard. You're not allowed to have a garden. She literally stopped people from gardening because she thought it was somehow going to spread the plague. These are not sane and rational people, and they should not have that level of power. So the legislature tries to take the power from her, and she says no. The people go and demonstrate. And, of course, the media, being a bunch of fucktards, decides to portray the demonstrations as about haircuts, because one person mentioned haircuts as one of the businesses that is impacted. I mean, Whitmer literally, people are dying, have died, and are continuing to die because she shut down all non-emergency medical care, including chronic health care. Okay? People have died because they couldn't get treatment for existing conditions that they had existing treatments for. Okay? The legislature can't fix it. The courts can't fix it because she's denied the courts. She said, well, you can decide that, but I'm going to do something else. I'm going to redeclare emergency or declare a different emergency. So what do? What are your options? Okay, I'm not advocating for kidnapping Whitmer. But what are you supposed to do? I mean, is the ballot box going to help? Here's a question. Is she going to allow an election? Can you remove her from office? The legislature can't even stop her emergency powers, even if they're unanimous. What can you do? You know, there's in history, in historical terms, this is where people do things that are silent and deadly, all right? And you don't want that. You really don't want that. The one thing you can say about the kidnapping plot is that these were people who were engaged in a larger scale political activism. The wrong kind of political activism, you can argue, but it is political act. They're not trying to kill her. They're trying to take her from her position of authority. You have to acknowledge not the methods. There's nothing right about kidnapping, but you have to acknowledge that they are in a situation where they have a political goal and no standard method of engaging in activism. What do they get to do? You know, Whitmer demonized people who were sitting in cars. The first protests were literally people sitting in cars with the windows rolled up. So what do? And again, I'm not defending the idea of kidnapping the governor. But you need to ask yourself some questions. What do you do? Here in Nevada, Sisolak has put restrictions on churches that he has justified. They're restrictions that he doesn't have for casinos or certain other businesses. But he's justified the special restrictions on churches because he cannot just shut them down. He doesn't have the authority to enforce behavior. So he's decided that he's just going to cut them off at the knees, and if you disobey, then you go to jail. So that is actually authority. I mean, and you know, the courts backed him up. The Supreme Court has not backed him up in the sense that they've declared it legal, but they refuse an injunction. So until sometime in the 2030s, when the courts finally figure it out, Sisolak can arbitrarily, through any declaration of emergency, anything. He can say there's too many scorpions in Clark County and the whole state's got in a state of emergency. He can do that. He can shut down religion arbitrarily. What do? What is your response? Your response is sometime in 2022, maybe we get to have an election and vote him out, if he allows it. Right now, the courts say, yeah, he can do anything he wants. So, what's your option? What do you get to do? You know, the ballot box is a very important aspect of our power as citizens. But it's very limited also. It's powerful, but it's limited. And the reason that it is limited, that it isn't immediate majority rule, is because we have protections. We have protections that are supposed to prevent governments and individuals from so far restricting our rights that we don't have a lot of choice. You know, with Whitmer, you're dealing with a situation where people have died. People have been denied access to existing health care. Potentially, you're dealing with people who get malnourished or can't eat. There are still sustenance hunters up there because of her policies. You know, the people are not obeying this, but if you obey it, you could die. What is your option then? Do you just say, oh, I'll wait and my descendants will vote her out someday? We have the protections for a reason. They are important. That's all I got for you. You know, it's a question. What do you do about a Whitmer, a Sisolak? What do you do when the law won't work for you? The courts can't work for you. The courts have no enforcement authority. The legislature is prevented by the executive branch. What do you do? Stay sideways? Give this one some thought, because Whitmer is a canary in the coal mine for the rest of the country.